He who does not know what the world is does not know where he is, and he who does not know for what purpose the world exists does not know who he is, nor what the world is. A message from the first century for those of you who are striving to learn and progress. I lay this gently in your lap. I do so without the slightest fear that it will completely turn your world upside down, bring you health, wealth, success, and happiness, provided you understand and accept. Remember, TNT is a dangerously highly explosive substance, so if you embrace it, treat it gently. Over the centuries, its power has destroyed those who have tried to abuse it. Therefore, exercise great caution that it is used only for good. Everything can be proven by the teachings of the Bible, certain firmly established laws of physics, and last, but not least, simple common sense. Listen and decide for yourself if the evidence I offer stands for itself. Some of you may only see the spiritual side, others may recognize the scientific truths, and still, others may simply accept it as a practical operating tool to get you on the road to success. Many know the truth, and for those of you who will open your minds, the light will stream in with blinding white brilliance. I am indebted to an old friend of mine, an expert in X-rays and high-frequency electrical devices, who, when I was a boy experimenting with electricity, put the first piece of powerful TNT in my pocket. At the time, I didn't know what it was and didn't understand it, but luckily it has stayed there all these years. Looking back, I understand why he didn't let me understand what it was. He believed in me and knew I would accept it when I was ready. It took me almost 30 years of searching for the secret. All that time, there was something in my pocket, within my grasp. However, I now have a firm grip on it and will share it generously. Know that if used wisely, it will sweep away all obstacles and pave the path you want to travel throughout your life. For many years, I was a newspaperman, and often behind the scenes, I met great men and women, interviewed famous people. Of course, I studied them and tried to understand what special qualities they possessed that set them above the rest, but their secret eluded me. Then came the war, and I wondered why others were making progress while I seemed blocked in my own ambitions. However, the war taught me that I can sleep in mud, eat moldy bread, and laugh afterward. This is part of my TNT, so remember what I learned. It helped me punch that old fear in the solar plexus, and I think it will help you too. Hoping to find a royal road to riches, I read hundreds of the so-called success books, and they led me nowhere. I did the same with books on philosophy, psychology, and still, the great secret remained just one step ahead of me. I joined secret fraternal organizations in the hope that I might find what I was looking for. However, the secret was in every book, in the great order, everywhere, and actually right under my nose, but something stopped me. And now, I have done my best to present it to you. After the war, I became a member of an investment banking organization operating all along the coast, and over the years I cherished a pretty big dream like thousands of others in all walks of business, only to discover that the castles in the air I was building were on a shaky foundation. Something that turned the world completely upside down financially completely destroyed my castles in the air, and I got scared. I got lost in the fog. Everywhere I looked, something was falling on me. As the leader of the organization, my responsibilities multiplied. Our business was facing a crisis due to the economic changes that were taking place around the world, and many people who did not understand the disaster that had befallen business everywhere were critical. All this led to worries and many sleepless nights. I dreaded going to work for fear that each day would bring additional misery. The weeks went by, and the conditions got worse and worse. I was at a loss. Several times I talked about giving up the business, and one day, at the end of June 1931, I made the decision to leave. I mentioned it to one of the women I had been working with for several years and saw reproach in her eyes. That night, I tried to sleep once again. It was impossible. I paced back and forth for hours when suddenly, around 3:30 in the morning, I stopped and sat down. I could give in to the urge to escape and let the others carry on alone, or I could stay and do my bit of duty I knew was too much for me. I found myself almost saying out loud, "Right is right, it was always right, it can't be any other way." This was something I had been taught since childhood. Suddenly, something seemed to unfold. A voice came out of nowhere and asked, "What have you been searching for all these years? What have you been learning? Where have you been? Where are you going?" The royal secret. I jumped up and shouted, "I know it. I have it now." It's the secret. That's what they wanted to teach you. It's the royal secret. Something told me that I would find these exact words in a book that had been given to me many years before, which I had tried to read, had not understood, and had put aside. It was written by a great man, Albert Pike, a mystic, poet, and scholar. I grabbed it off the shelf, flipping feverishly through the pages. The words were there, and I understood them immediately. Now I had the key. I could see a wide, smooth highway, and at the end of that highway, a perfect flood of beautiful, radiant light. That's the road you're on now. What a simple-minded fool you have been. They tried to teach you, they tried to help you, and you closed your mind, believing that you alone could find the path and stay on it. I was almost overwhelmed with the pure joy of it all. My fears, my worries were gone. I smiled. I knew I was right, and that from now on, everything would be all right for me. I slept like a baby. There was a different atmosphere in our office that day. The oppressive black clouds hanging over us began to dissipate. I told the woman with the reproachful eyes what had happened, and she gave me a knowing smile. She helped me get back on track, and I can never repay her. As one learned man said, we are all born with the ability to distinguish between right and wrong, and we are born with the ability to accomplish anything. But some of us have to run full tilt into a stone wall and smash ourselves to pieces before we really know what we're about. I hit the wall with a huge thud, and it was the biggest and best thing that ever happened to me. Many who noticed the transformation asked for an explanation. I told some of my best friends, and now here I am telling you because I know I can do good. The morale of our entire organization was at an all-time low. Everyone was discouraged and scared. Due to the necessity of things, we had to do a U-turn. My job was to do everything I could to help the others because I knew it was the right thing to do. At first, I was undecided about what methods to use to help them, but I used my own system to address the subconscious. An inner voice told me to talk to them. Some were skeptical, but I said to myself, I can prove I'm right, and during the weeks that followed, I spent every waking hour reviewing the books I had studied over the years. Of course, the Bible came first. Then came studies on yoga, the philosophy of the ancient Greek and Roman masters, and the later teachers and students. I reconsidered the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Dr. Hudson's Law of Psychic Phenomena, another book, The Spirit World, written by a brilliant doctor, Hayden Chester. Again, I studied my books on physics, electricity, and those on the vibrations of light, and discovered that not only was I right, but that strangely enough, the same general principles ran throughout. I reread numerous books on psychology and found the same story everywhere. I then quoted excerpts, and lo and behold, things began to move. It has always struck me that all the men and women who use this power, to use the words of my newspaper days, are headliners, the ones who make the front page. Something makes them throw away the bushel basket they hide their heads under, and they rise above the mundane. Many have mastered the art of reporting, the science of war, banking, statesmanship, politics, the arts, but they are all in the full spotlight, headliners. The number is legion. I'll name just a few: Nero, Julius Caesar, Christopher Columbus, Cleopatra, Balzac D.O., Payson, Sir Isaac Newton, Joan of Arc, Cromwell, Edgar Allan Poe, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, Bismarck, Graham Bell, General Grant, Cecil Rhodes, Clemenceau, Winston Churchill, Henry Ford. Everyone uses this power, I'm sure. I think he is the greatest headliner of today. You can find a lot of pictures of him in modern civilized clothes, but for several years he has cut his hair short, wears a loincloth, and a pair of huge glasses. I have no right to say that Gandhi adopted this attire for any particular reason, but I believe he did it to draw the world's attention to himself and the cause of India. I make no attempt to explain why those who have this power are headliners. You have to find that out for yourself. The true greatness of a man lies in the consciousness of an honest purpose in life, founded on a just estimate of himself and everything else, on frequent self-examination, and a steady obedience to the rule he knows to be right. Caring what others think or say, or whether they do or do not do what he thinks, says and does, Marcus Aurelius, there are thousands, even millions, of people who are seeking the secret, the key to health, wealth, happiness, contentment, to solving their problems. I am sure that you too can acquire this key if you apply the ideas contained in this audiobook. What do you want? Where are you going? 1,000,000 watermelons on a Mississippi shore. 2 men were dozing. One of them yawned, stretched his arms, and sighed, "Man, I wish I had 1,000,000 watermelons." The other man said, "Russ, if you had 1,000,000 watermelons, would you give me half of them?" "No." "Would you give me a quarter of it?" "No, I wouldn't even give you a quarter of it." "Russ, if you had 1,000,000 watermelons, wouldn't you even give me 10 of them?" "No, I wouldn't even give you 10 of them." "Well, wouldn't you give me 1 miserable watermelon?" "Say, Sam, I wouldn't even give you a bite of one if I had 1,000,000 watermelons." "Why not, Russ?" "Because you're too lazy to make a wish for yourself." There's a lot to learn from this story. I am fully aware that some will scoff. There have always been mockers. But mockers never succeed, they never get anywhere in life. I suppose there is no intelligent man or woman who is not genuinely interested in getting ahead. But I've often wondered if most of us don't have a negative trait that prevents us from really getting started. There's a saying, if you believe it, it is. Perhaps just a cryptic statement, or rather a summary of what I am giving you. All great teachers like Confucius, Muhammad, Jesus, and many philosophers taught one big basic idea. It can be found in all religions, cults, creeds, and sects. The same general theme can be found everywhere. If you believe it, then it is so. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. If you believe it, it is so. Boil the whole thing down to one word: belief. I have heard many people say that the days of miracles are over, but never in my life have I heard a thinker, a student, or a believer make such a statement. Surely the days of Aladdin and his lamp are over, perhaps they never existed. So too with the magic wand, the flying carpet, and all those things from fairy tales and legends. When I speak of miracles, I mean the things that can be achieved through faith. Believe in your conviction, believe in yourself, believe in the people you are connected to, believe in a force, believe in something that controls everyone's destiny. And if you have that belief and can dissolve the negative side, nothing in this world can stop you from attaining what you desire. We all tend to calculate and weigh things up, allowing the negative side to come to the fore. Our thoughts express themselves in remarks like, "This can't work, I'm scared what will happen if I do it. It's not worth the effort," and similar verbal alibis. If you have not already expressed these thoughts yourself, then others have expressed them to you through the power of suggestion, and you have accepted them as your own conclusions. This same message has been written and delivered thousands of times. It is found in the Bible, in the great brotherhoods. It guided the 3 wise men, the Crusaders carried it. Every outstanding personality in history has used it: Moses, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Shakespeare, Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt, Wilson, Benjamin Franklin, Edison, and thousands of others had a grip on this something. History has used it: the sages of all times, the medicine men, religious leaders, great teachers, yogis, the healers, the miracle men. They all knew this secret. They were all human beings. If they knew it and could achieve it, so can you. Believe, trust only that, and the ability of a firm believer to pass it on to others. That is the keynote of all great religions. All great things are started by one person, by one believer. It doesn't matter where they originally got the idea from. All great inventions are the result of the whole scheme. Believe in yourself, your ideas. All supersellers know this, they use the power. That's why they are supersellers. Every community action, every forward movement, everything of value succeeds because a person has faith and is able to pass it on and share it. Think about it, meditate on it, and you will realize that every word is true. Many envy the man or woman who gets ahead. They envy their financial success, their power, their influence. Have you ever looked for the explanation? Everything anyone has ever done constructively has been done by them. Each of us, if put on the right path, can achieve what he or she envisions if you believe it is so. Where there is a will, there is a will, there is a way. Get that willpower, that belief, going every minute of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I promise you, if you do this, you will leave those around you behind in the progress you make as quickly as high-frequency electrical discharges vibrate through the ether. A voice within me speaks. Mahatma Gandhi, on his arrival in England to seek a solution to India's problems, said, "I am doing this because a voice within me speaks." Gandhi was talking about something that came from within. Call it a power, call it something supernatural, call it whatever you like.